Hey guys, welcome to CSFC The Lounge.
Yeah, Benny.
All right, guys, welcome to CSFC Chicago at the Lounge. We are here with Dennis,
Yes.
Benny.
personal trainer for a long time.
Yep.
All right, tell us a little bit or a lot of how'd you get into this whole thing. And you're still going and you're still training
Yes.
at 79 and you're going to be 80 in December.
December 3rd. I'll
Yes.
be 80. You know, when I was a kid, I had really bad asthma. You know, and I was born in 44, so in that era, it wasn't the medication that asthmatics have now.
Mm-hmm.
It was very poor, so I was really sick for a long time. In 7th grade, my parents finally took me to Mayo Clinic. They figured that the problem was the pediatrician I was going to.
Oh boy, okay.
Who was trying to desensitize me from anaphylactic products that I was allergic to, mainly egg whites. You know, I almost died a couple of times from that. You know, those days they didn't.
Get out of here.
No, they didn't. You know, anaphylactic was in my bronchial airway, so
you couldn't really breathe or nothing.
yeah, just
Right.
can't
It's
breathe
choking
in.
you. Yeah.
And then they didn't have, you know, paramedics. They just, an ambulance came and took you to the hospital. You know,
Holy cow.
they didn't have all the stuff they have today. But anyway, once I quit going to her, because she was giving me shots since I was 5 years old, and each year I got worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of desensitizing me, she had hypersensitized me.
Okay.
And that's why I was getting worse and worse. First of all, he said, don't go back to her ever again. She isn't, that's beyond her scope of practice to be an allergist when she's a pediatrician.
Okay.
She
Okay.
didn't know what she was doing. And they gave me the first inhaler that they ever invented. This was like 1957.
You were here in Illinois, right? Still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joliet. I grew up in Joliet. Within a couple of months, I started to feel better. And then when I graduated from junior high and went to high school, I joined the wrestling team my freshman year. All that stuff that went on in those years
Uh-huh.
really stunted my growth. I think I weighed 78 pounds when I was a freshman.
Holy cow.
But the lowest weight in wrestling then was 90 pounds. I didn't weigh 90 pounds.
So you still managed to
But-
do it.
You know, when you wrestle, you got to run and you got to wrestle.
Okay. So you must be
And,
strong too.
you know, I always had asthma attacks whenever I tried to run, you know. So
Okay.
it's like called exercise-induced asthma. As I started running, I got better and better in my cardiovascular fitness
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
the first time in my life. I wrestled for a couple of years, but because I was in band too,
What'd you play in band?
drums.
Drums.
Yeah.
So we bring you a set of drums. You know what to do with them.
Yeah. Well,
Holy cow, that is cool.
I don't play anymore. I quit when I was like 32.
Uh-huh. So when did you started doing personal training?
So once I got out of high school and went to college, I stopped running. We weren't, you know, like when we wrestled in those days, and this was in the early 60s,
Uh-huh.
they didn't want you to lift weights.
Really?
Because at that time, they thought weightlifting made you muscle bound, whatever that meant.
Okay, okay.
That's not true. We can see it today, how athletes are trained.
Yeah, well,
But
like
the
hybrid
most,
training, it's into it.
the
now.
most we had in the gym at Joliet Township High School, where I went to school, there was only one high school in Joliet, and that was JT Central now. We had 110-pound weights. That was it. They wouldn't let you lift any more than that.
Boy, that's
That
still
was it.
heavy.
And that wasn't a big part of the training.
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's something in training called the rule of specificity, which says if you want to, let's say, for example, pitch 100-mile-an-hour fastballs, you better start throwing fastballs
Yeah.
and learn how to pick up your speed and all muscle connectivity that it takes to develop an arm that can throw that fast. You know, in that era of wrestling, their feeling was when you wrestled, you ran for endurance and you wrestled.
Holy
That's
crap. So that was
and
it.
yes, that was the best way because in order to be a good wrestler, you got to wrestle.
Yeah.
You got to wrestle
You gotta
against
practice
good
that.
competition. So I just got away from that in college because I was busy studying and partying. You know.
Of course.
And after, when I had my first daughter in 1969, I had started to gain a little weight, and I was never
There's no way.
overweight
I
before.
can never picture you
No.
getting overweight.
And so I thought, all right, it's time to get back. So I started running again. And the first year I just ran until I could like run 3 miles easy. And then I was teaching school, and school I was teaching at that time in a junior high,
Mm-hmm.
and they had bought a 16 station universal gym, which was one of the first universal gyms.
Mm-hmm.
This was back in probably 74. They bought that
Who was this at?
at Westview Middle School in Romeoville.
Okay.
Because sometimes I taught in Bolingbrook, sometimes I taught in Romeoville. Mostly in Romeoville,
Mm-hmm.
because it's the same school district, just two different,
Okay,
different towns, but the same school district. Because the PE teachers had their things that they did through the curriculum in each season. Baseball was in this season, basketball was in that season, so forth. They didn't know at that time how to put that weight equipment into the gym curriculum for the year.
Okay.
So it just sat there behind the bleachers.
Not being utilized or nothing.
used.
Wow.
So one day, he was a high school track coach, but
Uh-huh.
he taught it at the junior high. Why don't you go back there and use that stuff? You know, nobody's using it because it was behind the bleachers, you know. We had a really nice gym for a junior high. It had a full court
Sounds
and
like 'cause
2 half courts.
I don't think the junior high.
So when the bleachers were open, it took the 2 half courts away on either side of the main court. So it was a big gym. That's how I started back into lifting weights with that machine. 4 or 5 years later, I started a club.
You started a club.
I started a club for the kids
Okay.
after school
Mm-hmm.
so they could come and train. So that first couple of years, we just used that 16 station universal gym.
Hold on. What was the club's name?
Westview Ironman. Then about the 3rd year, some of my girls said, hey, what about us? Can't we lift
boy.
weights?
Of course.
So then we made it, you know.
Just
we had-
introduced them into
We
it.
had T-shirts for Westview Iron Men and Westview Iron Women.
Oh, that's cool.
You know.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then the coaches started saying, hey, the wrestling coach asked me first, hey, would you strength train the wrestlers before the season? All right. Well, then the basketball coach said, hey, well, you know, and then I started.
So you involved everyone, all the
Yeah.
sports academic
and I
in
had-
there.
I had a kid, one of the kids I had, Oliver Gibson. He was one of the first kids I had in the club. He was a really good athlete, played baseball, basketball. We didn't have a football team then because they didn't want kids to be tackling in junior high anymore. But when he went to high school, Romeoville High School, he was on the football team. As a senior, he was All-American. He went to Notre Dame. After he graduated from Notre Dame, he got drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Get out of here.
And he was playing behind Greg Lloyd, who was defensive tackle.
So you gave him the foundation of what he knows.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
but he
yeah.
got big.
Like huge.
You know, he was the defensive tackle.
Holy cow. Yeah.
But they would use him on nickel situations. You know, he was good straight ahead, but he didn't have as much lateral speed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg Lloyd was a really good defensive tackle for Pittsburgh. So he played behind him for, I think, 6 years. He played in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
And then the Bengals picked him up, and he played for the Bengals for 5 years, where he was the starter there. He came back when I retired and gave a little talk about his experience
Yeah.
there, and said at the end, he says, "Now let's see who wins the bench press contest."
Oh
Because
God.
he weighed like 295 or something.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's
And then
pretty cool.
a lot of my kids that I had there
Uh-huh.
would come back, even though they were in high school, they'd come back and train with me.
Nice.
So I had a lot of my ex-kids would be my training partners.
So after that, when did you establish your personal training company? 'Cause I know you had your own shark.
Yeah, so when
right?
I retired after 34 years of teaching, I took a year off to study for the special cert. And it's the top cert in personal training. It's called the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I think right now there's only 5 in Will County. I think I'm the only one that's actually training in Will County.
Oh,
2 of
wow.
them are coaches. 2 of them are girls. That one trains in Naperville, one trains in Downers Grove, I think, and me. Here. you
Yeah.
know. And the reason is the level of knowledge you're expected to know to pass the test assumes that you have a degree in physiology, kinesiology, sports science, something like that,
Okay.
because the level of the questions you're going to be asked are going to expect that you have that degree.
Extremely
One of
good
those
knowledgeable with
degrees.
everything. Yeah.
So
It's not an easy thing to
it's
do.
not an easy test.
Oh, yeah.
60% of the people that take it the first time, even though they have that degree, flunk the test.
Get out of here.
Yeah, because it's all application
Holy
type
cow.
questions. You got to apply the knowledge, not spit out a fact.
Okay. True.
You know? So there's a difference between that kind of question
Mhm.
and that answer. Once I got certified there,
Mhm.
I did pass it the first time. It was super hard. It's a 4-hour test, 150 questions.
4-hour test.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
as hard as the GRE, the graduate record exam, to
Get
qualify
outta
for getting your
here.
master's degree. Was
Holy
that
cow.
because I didn't have any of that in
Yeah.
my bachelor's was in psychology and my master's is in education. I didn't have any of that. I had to study all that, and I studied like a job, 8
You
hours
can just
a
tell
day.
when we talk to you, or when you talk to us and explain to us something, or when I had you, when you were training me, like I know. Like I was like, okay, Dennis knows,
Yeah,
deeply knows, and that explains a
you
lot.
got to know. Einstein once said, "Knowledge plus experience equals wisdom."
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you got to have the knowledge, and
Yeah.
then
Because it's not just
just
theory.
the knowledge is
Yeah.
one thing, but experience in the real world
Yeah.
is you put those 2 together, and then you got wisdom.
Yes.
And so that's how I started in this building, where when it was Gold's back in 2004. I moved to 5-Star, which used to be a powerhouse gym. And then when they sold to another owner, I came over here because I knew the general manager, and she was a fitness instructor. And when it was
Okay.
Gold's, Selena,
Oh, that's right. You
Yeah,
did know
Selena.
Selena. Right.
and when the other person was buying the 5-Star, she called me up and said, "Why don't you come over here?" And so I came over and met Raul, and we talked, and then I started working here. And
Ever since then,
I've
you've been at the
here
CSFC.
since 2017, a
Ever
long
since
time.
then, you've been having a ton of clients too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them are rehabbing from different kinds of medical conditions or surgeries of all kinds. So a lot of that, you got to really understand what their disease is or what their condition is
In order to train them properly.
in order to train
Yeah.
them properly, because they already got issues. You want to progress them, you want them to heal and become more functional in their fitness. You don't want to hurt them.
And that's one thing I think a lot of people right now don't realize, that if you're going through something, if you have like an accident or if you tweak something in your foot, arm, whatever, you have to train it properly.
Train it properly.
And I don't think a lot of them know. They might have an
No.
idea, but when they go meet someone like you, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, nothing against a lot of the young trainers. They're young, but a lot of them aren't well educated. they played sports, but just you can't train the general public like you're training for football, say.
Yeah.
It's just not what you're supposed to do. And, you put yourself as a trainer, the chance of you getting sued if you hurt that person.
Yeah.
Did you assess what's their ability to do the things you're asking them to do? What is the medicine they're on? What is their medical condition? Did you ask them? Did you consult with their physician? What should I do with this person? Or what should be my limits? Or what things shouldn't I do? You should ask that question. I mean, if it's a healthy young person, yeah, that's different. But when you're training the general population, you get all kinds of people, from fit people to super out of shape people. So you have to understand how to train those. One of the things when I watch people train in the gym, every day you see people, even some people that have, they're big guys, say, or very fit women athletes. You look in this gym, there's as many good women lifters as there are men now.
They are.
But if they refine their technique, they would get a lot more out of their time that they spend in the gym by improving their range of motion in the movement, in focusing on neural connectivity. Because let's face it, none of these, there's no brains down here.
No.
Okay? There's no controller down here. It's all up here. If you don't use this as the most powerful muscle in your body, even though it's not a muscle,
Great.
it's the motherboard, it's the controller. It tells everything here what to do.
Agreed.
So if you don't include that in your work, you're missing out on the main thing that can advance you. That starts with understanding what does the muscle feel like while you're moving. You have to consciously think of that, because you're telling your brain, this is what I want you to work on. Because in large part, the brain doesn't want you, for example, to isolate a muscle or muscle group.
Because it wants to preserve, right? As much as possible.
It's not that. It's that we have a unified muscle system. When you look at the anatomy of the human...
I swear I need my notebook to write this stuff down, but I will look at this again. Because this is true stuff.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, it's not theory, it's nothing like that.
Take all the skin off and look at the muscle structure of the human body. It's all integrated. Everything is next to each other so they can help each other out. And the brain knows where to pick up those helpers. Because it's the motherboard. It's the controller. Not you, it. We have an autonomic system in our body.
Right.
For all of the jobs that our brain controls that we don't have anything to do with. Like So yeah, you can consciously breathe, but do you all the time consciously take a breath?
No,
no.
I'm just thinking about it now, but no,
or
we
blink
don't.
your eyes,
Yeah.
or control your heart rate, or your breathing rate. No, you don't do any of that. Control your digestive system. No, you don't know anything about that. That's your autonomic brain, and it likes to take over a lot of stuff.
And I do this, hold on, I do this, sorry to tell you, but I do this funny thing where I tell my stomach, I'm like, it's growling. And I'm like, no, I tell you when I eat. You don't tell me when you eat, okay?
You're
Everyone's like,
giving
who
me
you
the
talking to?
signal.
I'm like, my stomach. So I'm like, they're like, you're crazy, Leo. I'm like, I know, but I'm not feeding it. I feed it when I want to.
Yeah, or you see people and they're like, I have to do 10 more of these. They're not even paying attention to what they're trying to accomplish. If you don't understand how the brain wants to recruit other helpers around the joints you're trying to move, and that's what we do functionally as a human, is we're moving the joints of our body. And to do that, we have to have muscles, tendons, ligaments that help move the actual joint. The old saying, you are what you eat, is true.
Yeah.
And when you look at the obesity rate in America today, 70%, 72% of the last time I checked, of the human population in America is overweight or obese. That's
It's all
a
this
lot.
processed foods.
A lot of processed
And
foods.
I call it entertainment food now.
Yeah.
There is nothing nutritional for us.
No.
It really isn't.
No.
That's why I tell people, I'm like, don't look at this as food. Look at it as just like we watch television or something like
Yeah.
that. It's just entertainment.
Yeah.
That's all it is, to entertain our taste buds.
Yeah. And that's a big part of making progress is what you feed your body. We know what humans need to eat, and we can get the good stuff now.
Right.
But a lot of people don't choose those options.
No.
That's a little more expensive to eat that way, but are you worth it? You want to have a healthy body that lasts a long time. If you eat and exercise and mainly lift weights.
You're still exercising here. We see
course.
you do your TRX stuff. We
Yeah.
see you do all your stuff.
Mhm.
Everyone around me that knows, and they're like, he does all that. I'm like, he does all that.
Because especially as you get older, around 50, something called sarcopenia begins for all humans. And it varies a little bit, either side of 50. It might be a little before, a little after, depending on your conditioning as you approach those ages. You can't stop sarcopenia. What causes it is, as we age, our ability to process proteins to build our muscles isn't as effective as it used to be. It's called anabolic resistance. That resistance is based on our ability to, even though we might eat a lot more protein, we
Not
still can't
absorbing it,
process.
right?
No,
Nothing
we
like
can't
that.
process all that we eat. Even just in general, you can eat a 28-ounce porterhouse steak, but when our digestive system starts, when we see food, when we smell food, all of those things are triggers that sets in motion the whole process of our digestion of food that we eat.
Okay.
And how it gets absorbed, how those nutrients are broken down and absorbed in about 3 feet of the small intestine. It's a continuous, once it starts, it keeps going. It's not going to stay and wait, okay, he's eating a 28-ounce porterhouse steak. I got to slow down so he gets it all. No.
It keeps going.
So you're going to, on average, absorb about, before you're 50, let's say, between 4 and 6 ounces of that steak. That's it.
That's it.
You don't have time to go.
Do
So the rest of it's going down the toilet.
That's one thing I do tell people. I'm like, we can eat whatever we want, but if our body doesn't absorb it,
Yeah.
it's no point if you keep
So
eating
you got to
your
portion
protein.
control your based on that. There's no reason to eat more than 6 ounces. Or say if you're even eating a steak, because you're not gonna. You can eat it, go ahead, but you're not gonna.
It's not gonna
As
do
far
nothing.
as nutritionally, you're not going to be able to absorb it
Nothing.
all.
Wow.
But anyway, if we take the whole complex of all the things you see in what's called fitness today, CrossFit, all these fad things, running, the research clearly shows, and my NSCA cert publishes all the research that's done in strength and conditioning at colleges and universities throughout the world, because the NSCA cert is a world cert. I can train in England, I can train in Spain, in Italy.
So this is really, really high level stuff.
Yeah.
This isn't your
because the average public doesn't know what these cert names mean.
Yeah.
And if you look at the acronyms, they all try to look like NSCA, NASM, NADA, NAFTA. Then another good one is called American College of Sports Medicine, which is a little more on the medicine side of training. That one's a good one, but the test is only 3 hours, and it's not as hard as the NSCA one. But that's a good one. But the other imitators, like ACE, and there's a couple other ones that start with A.
All those guys are just copycats.
The average public they don't know what those letters
No.
mean. Like you see a doctor or has a bunch of degrees in A, B, C, D, what does that mean? They don't know.
So
But the research clearly shows that the best thing we can do, especially as we get older, is lift weights. Because lift weights gives you everything that the other ones don't give you.
I was just going to
You
ask you
know,
that. What would you tell a 40 to 50-year-old person that isn't really wrapping their head around that, hey, you're getting older, you're losing less stem cells, you're losing less everything. You need to work a little harder to do
yeah.
stuff. So lifting weights will help them.
So like say in my prime years, 30 to 40,
Uh-huh.
like at 40, I weighed 190 pounds. Now I weigh a little under 145.
You got a ton of
It's
muscle.
14% body fat, right now. I can't keep it on. I'm trying.
Yeah.
Now, I stopped lifting super heavy. Anytime I power lifted for probably 10 years. After that, I did more like bodybuilding, not so much strength stuff. Because whenever you push the envelope for your records, you're risking getting injured.
Yeah, definitely.
Everybody that does heavy weights and like powerlifting, sooner or later you're going to get hurt.
You're gonna get hurt.
Something's gonna, and it happens. I think the last time I lifted really heavy was on my 70th birthday. I deadlifted 455 for 6 reps.
Holy
I
cow.
can show you a video of it to prove it.
No,
I rack
believe you.
lifted it. I didn't take it off the floor. It was about mid-calf
A little bit there. Okay.
there.
But still, that's strange.
At 70, every year after that, I could see a decline. First it was decades. I could see a difference between 50 and 60.
Yeah.
A difference between 60 and 70. But at 70, every year seemed to get harder
Yeah.
to keep that weight on.
That's one
Because
thing
I
I
wasn't lifting heavy anymore.
Have you had any falls?
Well, I fell out of the sky.
Just on the fall. Oh, I know that. I know that.
Skydiving.
Well, there's a study that a lot of for the older population, it's their wrist. They don't have strong wrists. So when they fall, they collapse and they just really fracture everything.
The main thing is because why do they fall in the first place?
Yeah.
Is they're already losing muscle mass, ability to balance and stabilize. Their ability to catch themselves before a fall is gone. They don't have the muscle strength to do that. That muscle strength starts in your feet because that's what's on the ground.
Yeah.
If your feet aren't strong, if your calves aren't strong, you're going to have problems walking. And falls are one of the main causes of injuries and death in older adults and seniors.
No,
they don't have the strength to get up anymore. They can't get out of a chair, like a cushy chair or sofa.
See it.
They can't
Yeah.
get on and off the toilet without help. They don't have any strength in their complex from their feet to their glutes. And that's what we're relying on for mobility is from your hips down. Right? You don't have that strength, balance, stability, all of that goes away. So it's inevitable that they're gonna fall, they're gonna hurt themselves. And a lot of times those falls result in fractures that can be life-threatening. Like a lot of seniors that fall and break their hip, they get an infection, it leads to other things.
They can't heal. And
they can't heal, and you can start, there does come a point in your deterioration as we age that you will lose that neural connectivity and the muscle won't be able to even be there. It'll disappear. I used to think you could always gain it back if you did something, and triggered that neuromuscular connection back. But there does come a point that goes away. While you're still able to move, you can slow that process down. You won't be able to stop it. Sarcopenia has a companion that goes with it because if you lose muscle strength, not going to be able to recover from that. Losing muscle mass means you're losing strength. If you lose muscle mass, then you're losing strength. And those are the two things together lead to fall injuries of seniors.
Dennis, how many people are you training right now?
Right now, because a lot of my COVID damaged my clients that are older, have a lot of medical conditions,
Mhm.
or type 2 diabetics,
Mm.
or they have other conditions where if they get something like COVID, it's easier for them to die
Yeah.
because they already have a compromised system. They're
Yeah.
not healthy. They're not able to recover from things. Those are the problems
Yeah.
that happen, you know. And it happened, kind of destroyed
Yeah.
that part of my business. The most I had was like 24.
Holy
Then I
cow.
was working like 10 hours a day.
Holy cow.
So now, like,
Yeah, but still, that's.
I mean, I've been doing this 20 years. I taught school for 34 years.
Shoot, so you're going on 2 decades
So,
doing this stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So,
Holy cow.
so now I decided, you know, last year
Yeah.
I'm going to slow down. So now I only train like,
A few people.
I'm here
and-
from 7 to noon.
Oh, wow. You're still training quite a nice handful,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
How's
Training?
the facility been, though, for the training? You have the
You're
outside.
you're
you
not
have the
gonna
downstairs.
find a gym like this anywhere around here, and I've been in a lot of
Uh-huh.
gyms, not just in this state, but my daughter lives in Florida, so I started going to gyms down there when I go down to visit her. Been to gyms in Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa. This is a one-of-a-kind gym.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I've been everywhere I travel.
I mean, yeah, maybe
find
Lifetime has more.
They have a pool. That's all they have. No, they do got a bunch
they
of.
got
I know
all, you know,
many-
like
they do.
badminton. I don't
They
know what
do.
else. They're not like this gym,
Yeah.
with all kinds of different, you know, there's an Olympic lifting room, there's a leg dungeon, there's a boxing room, there's an outside, you know, and the equipment that's here changes all the time.
It's one
They're
of the
not-
best. It's one of the best.
They're bringing in the best,
Yeah.
the latest new stuff. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't beat this gym for it.
And they can always ask for help.
And I will have to say, I trained for 3 different owners so far. Raul and Sonny are totally different from any of the other owners I ever worked in any other gym, because they listen, number one,
Yeah.
because they weren't ever in the gym business. So they really didn't
They
understand.
listened.
No,
They did.
but they listened, they learned, and they applied what they learned and had the vision to build this gym.
Yeah.
So
And years later, here
hands
we are.
down to them.
Oh, absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
They made a one-of-a-kind gym, and okay, maybe you have to go to Chicago to find one that's like this.
Yeah. Now, I've never gone over there. And they're similar, but not with
Yeah,
the
and
outside, not with the dynamic that we have going on.
One of the
It's
other things
extremely
about the NSCA cert is, like, we have to have continuing education units
Oh, really?
every 3 years to keep your cert in effect.
Oh,
And if we take, like most of the other certs, if you take an 8-hour class,
that's it.
you get 8 hours.
Okay.
If I take an 8-hour class in the NSCA credentials, I get 0.8.
Holy cow.
And we got to have 60 continuing education units every 3 years. So you got to get 20 hours,
Just to get.
20
Yeah.
hours every year to get it.
Oh, wow.
So I've been to a lot of gyms at clinics, other states here, a lot of gyms around here in the Chicagoland area I've been to. I've never been in one like this. Some that are like powerlifting gyms that are specific to that. I mean, they got other stuff, but they're known for powerlifting. Or a gym that's known for bodybuilding.
That's for everyone.
But this gym, you can do whatever you want. Whatever your
Pretty
sport
much.
is, whatever.
And swim, because we do have a pool.
do have
can
a
do
pool.
all kinds of stuff.
I mean, there's no excuse. And
Yeah.
we got a great ladies only workout room.
Yeah, they can
It's
do their
got a
thing.
full gym in
Everyone
there.
does their thing.
You know, so
And they
Number
have a
one.
Josh.
Josh,
Oh,
man,
gosh.
front desk man.
Dennis, we will do a part 2. All right. Well, thank you
All right, buddy.
so much.
Love you.
Thank you.
Love you, Josh.
Josh, you're the best.
All right.
All